Today with the 32nd lecture we are starting a very important topic for your prelims UPSC 2020. The topic is environment section. Today we will be starting with the March month current affairs related to environment section. Then we will go to April month, then we will go to May month, and then we can start the another section, that is post May 2020 current affairs. For this lecture we have selected 3 topics which all are very important, and I will go in the detailing of them. That detailing is very important, so please focus. Our first topic will be United for Biodiversity. This collaboration or this initiative, coalition, this United for Biodiversity is coming by European Commission, and European Commission is the executive branch of European Union. So we will see what is European Commission. We will also see what is European Union, because European Union is in news because of Brexit, and a prelims question might be coming from Brexit or European Union, how it originated and what are the nations in European Union, what is the currency and what is the role, what is the Schengen area, everything I will tell you in this environment section. Our second topic will be BEE, that is Bureau of Energy Efficiency Star Rating Program. Why this is in news? First of all, there was 19th Foundation Day of Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and in that Foundation Day, Bureau of Energy Efficiency said that, okay, we are doing the star rating from 2010. Now let us increase the list and include deep freezer and light commercial air conditioners also in the star rating program. So we'll try to understand what are the 2 types of a star rating program and what is the act behind Bureau of Energy Efficiency and everything, why this initiative is needed, a star rating program, and what else was done on the 19th Foundation Day. Everything we will see. Third topic is also very important. The third topic is National Clean Air Program. It's not like National Clean Air Program came in March month or 2020 also. It came in January 2019 only. But recently the Union government through the Environment Ministry has asked all the cities present in the list of National Clean Air Program that please provide us the plan which is pending. Please provide us the plan so that we can deal with this National Clean Air Program and we can make a progress. So we will need to know what is National Clean Air Program, what are the aim and objective of this, everything we will go in the detail again. So our first topic is United for Biodiversity. As the name says it all, let's unite for biodiversity. But who will unite? And what is the parent organization who is doing this initiative? See, European Commission is the executive branch of European Union. That European Commission has launched the United for Biodiversity. This is a coalition. Coalition of what? All your international and national zoos, aquariums, botanical gardens, national park and natural history and science museums from around the world. You understand the significance of this? This United for Biodiversity activity or coalition by European Commission asks the all zoos, aquarium and etc. that please, if any visitor comes in your place, ask them to conserve the biodiversity of the world. Ask them to take a stand against the exploitation and extinction of biodiversity. So somehow it becomes an awareness program. It was launched on World Wildlife Day. World Wildlife Day is celebrated on 3rd March 2020, and every year 3rd March only, the World Wildlife Day. So 2 things here. One is European Commission, from where we will go the deep into your European Union, and second is World Wildlife Day. Why it is celebrated on 3rd March? There also we will go a little bit deep into it. So let us see European Commission, then World Wildlife Day. First of all, European Commission. European Commission, as I already told you, this is the executive branch of the European Union, and this proposes legislation, implements decisions and upholds the European Union treaties. All the treaties are upheld by this organization, European Commission, just like your executive branch of the Union government, right? And also manages day-to-day business of the European Union. That's all about it. Main thing to know about is European Union, how this came into the picture, European Union on the world picture. First of all, know that it is a political and economic union. So political consensus is also there among these nations, and economic integration is also present. Political economic union is European Union, and there are 27 member states. 27 member states, and these are located primarily in Europe only. There is a huge area, okay, huge population also, but that is not you need to remember. You need to remember something else. One thing you need to know, that in this European Union and also some non-European Union countries, there is a passport control thing which is abolished. So you can travel among some nations in the European Union, and some countries are outside also European Union which are part of this no passport regime. Those countries are known as Schengen area. I will tell you about this Schengen area, don't worry. First of all, know that a monetary union also established in 1919. Okay, before that, go into the origin of European Union, right? That will be better. European Union traces its origin in the European coal and steel community. The businesses combined together, the nations combined together, and that time Europe was producing lots of coal and steel, okay? So this ECSC came into the picture. ECSC was established by a Treaty of Paris that was in 1951 only. That time they were producing in Europe coal and steel. You know the Germany, the Black Forest and all. So Europe coal and steel community came in 1951 by Treaty of Paris, and another organization, European Economic Community, came into the picture in 1957 only by Treaty of Rome. Initially, this European community had only 6 members: Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, and Netherlands and West Germany. That time West Germany, because East Germany was controlled by Russia, right? It was a communist country, but they united later. That time West Germany, total 6 countries were there, and later many countries acceded to this community and European Union was found. Important is that latest treaty, major treaty for amendment of the Constitution of European Union is Treaty of Lisbon that came in 2009. But European Union was established by European Union and European citizenship. This was established by Maastricht Treaty that came into force in 1993. What I am saying is that origin is through Maastricht Treaty. Before that also European Steel and Coal Community, that is fine, 1951 and 1957. But European Union and European citizenship, this thing came in Maastricht Treaty of 1993, and the latest amendment to the European Union Constitution is Treaty of Lisbon that came into force in 2009. So now one more question: which is the only and the latest country to leave European Union? That is your United Kingdom. It decided in 31st January 2020 that they will leave this European Union, following a 2016 referendum in the United Kingdom when people voted for Brexit. And this process will be over by 31st December 2020. So now what is happening? Now it is a transition period because there are so many things which need to be settled down before United Kingdom leaves the European Union. So one more thing I wanted to tell you about is this Schengen area. When you visit Europe, you can travel in a Schengen area with your home country passport, and these people also, they can travel without passport among these countries. European Union Schengen countries. See, there are some countries which are part of European Union and Schengen countries, a Schengen area also. These are this colored, okay? These countries. The yellow countries are not part of European Union but still part of Schengen countries, that are Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland. What does that mean? These 4 countries are not part of European Union, being a part of Europe also, being a part of a Schengen area also, that okay fine, without passport you can travel, but we will not become part of European Union. These countries are Iceland, okay, Norway, and then your Switzerland, and there is one country Liechtenstein here somewhere, okay. These 4 countries are not part of European Union but still part of a Schengen. So there must be some other countries which are non-Schengen European countries, that they are part of European Union countries, 27 members, but they did not participate in no passport visa, no passport travel. Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Ireland, United Kingdom, Romania. Now for UPSC prelims, what you need to remember is that which countries are not part of European Union, which are part of Schengen countries. These are Ireland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland, which is very important. Now you know European Union has a currency also, that is euro. But are all of the European Union members are having the same currency, euro? No. When Britain was part of European Union, that time also Britain has its own currency, that was pound. See, for this currency, a monetary union was established in 1999, came in force in 2002, and it is composed of only 19 European Union member states out of 27 which have this euro as the standard currency, okay. Also you should know that this European Union is very special. This is a unique organization. There was no organization like this, or you can say country collaboration like this. That is why it is called as sui generis. Now I wanted to explain this term. Sui generis means something which haven't happened before, something which is unique, and it is used in your Indian judiciary also, this term sui generis, a case which has not come before. Just like European Union like organization never came before. Sui generis, right? These are the member countries of European Union. You can see now United Kingdom is out of it. Norway was already not in it. Switzerland was not in it. Liechtenstein somewhere here. It is not in this. So these countries are not part of European Union. See, in 1956, core states had founded this European Union's predecessor. I already told you that was European communities, Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands and West Germany. And the remaining states have acceded to this and made it enlarged and 27 countries. Now a very good thing I wanted to tell you. If some country wants to become part of European Union, that country must stick to the requirements. What are the requirements? Economic and political requirement. Of what? Of Copenhagen criteria. Okay. Copenhagen criteria says that if you want to become the part of European Union, you should have a free market, you should not be a communist country or command economy. You should be democratic and you should respect human rights. Freedom and institutions should be free and rule of law should be exhibited. So very democratic place you should have in your country. Then only you can fulfill the Copenhagen criteria and become a part of European Union. Now why I wanted to tell you is that here is the Turkey. Turkey is in Asia and Europe both. Turkey wanted to become part of European Union to have some stability in its economy. But now France's Premier Emmanuel Macron, what he is saying that no, Turkey cannot become a part of European Union because Turkey is not fulfilling the eligibility criteria of Copenhagen criteria, because Turkey is not a free country. Many orthodox things are being done. Recently one, the mosque, museum and church thing was done there. So that is a problem. Hagia Sophia. So they are saying that we will not include Turkey. And since 2016, the negotiations have been stalled, and Turkey is not going to become a part of European Union. Very recently, that is possible, and later we will see what will happen. So, but currently not. So that is Copenhagen criteria I wanted to tell you. That is all. Until 2020, no member left it or withdraw it or was suspended from the European Union. Okay, but only your UK government invoked Article 50. Now, Article 50 is also important for prelims. Your Treaty on European Union had this Article 50. By invoking that, you can withdraw from the European Union, and that is what your United Kingdom did. They invoked Article 50 and said that we are coming out of it because some terms and conditions of the European Union are not benefiting our economy, and also we do not want the migrants. You are getting the migrants in your country, fine, but we will not get that. So Brexit process has started. A referendum was done in the country, and with a slight vote, UK voted that okay, they want to come out of this agreement, European Union, by invoking Article 50. All about this, I think prelims question will not come outside that. So that executive body of European Union, that is European Commission, came with a program, United for Biodiversity Coalition, okay, on World Wildlife Day 2020. All the zoos, aquarium, botanical garden, national park and natural history and science museums around the world were asked that please raise some awareness. Whenever some visitor comes to your place, tell them about the biodiversity conservation. Thing is that World Wildlife Day, why this is being celebrated, when did it start, and what is the parent organization? Story is that on 20th December 2013, United Nations General Assembly session was going on. That was 68th session, okay, going on in USA. Now United Nations General Assembly is one of the 6 main branches of your United Nations. I have already told you about the United Nations branches, so you can refer the lecture, I think first lecture only. A resolution was passed, UN 68205. Now you do not need to remember this resolution, fine, but the decision you need to remember that 3rd March International Day, it will be celebrated as World Wildlife Day. Why? Because on this day only in 1973, CITES was adopted. CITES is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. This CITES is very important for your prelims. This is a static portion. Please refer that. This was adopted in 1973 only on 3rd March. So that is why we will celebrate 3rd March as World Wildlife Day. Now one more thing. Why this coalition is being produced? because whether it will happen or not, I don't know, because this is going to happen in China. October 2020, it is being proposed that Conference of the Parties 15th session will take place in Kunming, China. 15th session of what? Not your UNFCCC. 15th session of Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, will take place in Kunming, China in October 2020. So before going in that meeting, this coalition is saying that let's do something to join force and boost public awareness about the nature crisis ahead of this COP15. So Convention on Biological Diversity. When your Rio Earth Summit was conducted in 1992, many things happened. UNFCCC came. Okay. In that meeting only, Convention on Biological Diversity was taken into picture, and also it was opened for signature for the participating parties. Okay. 5th June 1992. It came into force on 29th December 1993. So is that all it happened in Convention on Biological Diversity? No, just like in UNFCCC you had the Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement. So just like that, Convention on Biological Diversity also has two supplementary agreements. One is Cartagena Protocol, second is Nagoya Protocol. Now this Cartagena Protocol and Nagoya Protocol are very important. Cartagena Protocol full form is Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety to the Convention on Biological Diversity. That is a Convention on Biological Diversity protocol. Okay, that is a Cartagena Protocol. Nagoya is a protocol over CBD. That is Nagoya Protocol. Your Cartagena Protocol is an international treaty which deals into the movement of living modified organisms. What are living modified organisms? Organisms which are living and genetic material is modified. They must be operated by biotechnology, that is why modified. Okay. So if you do something by modern biotechnology, the nature of the living organism changes. So their movements must be checked so that it doesn't pose any danger to the local flora and fauna, and it is not being utilized in a wrong way. For that you have the Cartagena Protocol. It came into force in 2003. Second is Nagoya Protocol. See, very easy to remember if I tell you Cartagena. See, Carta, you read it like Carta. Gena is gene. So gene Carta, biotechnology. Easy. Living modified organism, LMOs. Second is Nagoya Protocol on access to genetic resource and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization to the Convention on Biological Diversity. This big name, what does that mean? Nagoya Protocol says that if you are getting benefit from the local biodiversity, for example, Patanjali was producing a herbal medicine from the Uttarakhand local plants. Now, Patanjali was extracting the medicine, taking the medicine from the plants, but traditionally people knew about this medicine also, that we can extract some juice from the plants and make a medicine. So, Patanjali was extracting the medicine component but not giving any royalty or any money to the local population. Local population said that India is part of Convention on Biological Diversity, and Convention on Biological Diversity has a protocol, Nagoya Protocol, that says that access to genetic resources will be dealt with fairly, and also you will have to provide fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from your genetic resources. These plants are genetic resources. Patanjali is extracting it. They are not giving any fair and equitable sharing to the local population. Case went to the court, and court gave a decision in opposition to Patanjali and said that you have to share the benefits arising from these medicinal plants to the local population also, because India is a part of Nagoya Protocol. Nagoya Protocol comes by Convention on Biological Diversity. So much of significance, you understand. Nagoya Protocol was adopted in Nagoya, Japan. That's why it is named like that. Came into force in 2014. Now, it is also easy to remember. Nagoya. Na is no, Goya is like go. Matlab, that means ki the benefit or the share, please do not go, stay with me, share with the local population. Nagoya, nahi jane dunga, right? Benefit you will have to share, just like Patanjali had to share. So this is all about the Convention on Biological Diversity. That CBD's 15th meeting is happening in Kunming, China in October 2020. For the preparation of that, United for Biodiversity initiative has come by European Commission. Now this coalition came into the picture. They must adopt a common pledge also, the promise also. So the promise is coming by, promise must have a reasoning also. Why this urgency? Anybody will ask now, why you are coming with pledge? What is the urgency? They cited one report. That report came by Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. They did a global assessment and found that 1 million species were already at risk of extinction. 1 million, 10 lakh species were already at risk of extinction. By citing this report from Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, or IPBES, this coalition by the European Commission said that, see, we need to take a pledge. That is the significance of this report. Now this thing, Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem, this was created by United Nations General Assembly only, and it was created in, let's understand something about Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES. What is that? Obviously it is an intergovernmental organization. Okay, this will work towards connecting, making an interface between scientists and policymakers on issues of biodiversity and ecosystem services. What will happen that researchers will create a report, so scientists, and that report will go to policymakers, and according to that, in this multinational organization or intergovernmental body, the policymakers will do some action. That is all. It is intended to serve as a similar role to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. You have IPCC. IPCC also publishes the report about the urgency of climate change and the needed action. Similarly, this organization IPBES is also doing the same thing. What is the origin? Origin is that in 2010, see, 68th session was being conducted in 2013. So in 2010, your 65th session of UNGA was being conducted, United Nations General Assembly. In that moment, they asked the United Nations Environment Program, which is also a part of United Nations only. The United Nations Environment Program was asked that please convey in a plenary meaning. All the nations will come and establish IPBES. They will publish the report. United Nations Environment Program, can you tell me the headquarter of this organization? It is very important. It comes in a state PSC so many times. In 2013, an initial conceptual framework was adopted from the plenary, and see, from 19 April 2019, representative of these countries met in Paris, France. Last year only, 2019, representatives of 132 countries met in Paris, France, and they got this report, IPBES report, and that report only this coalition by European Commission is citing that, see, there is urgency about the biological diversity. So you can say that it was created in 2012, 8 years ago, because resolution came in 2010 and this finally was created in 2012. All these museums and natural places will be asked, the zoos and aquarium will be asked, botanical garden. Ask their visitors of your institutions to raise their voice for nature, raise their voice against extinction. Now comes our second topic. Second topic is also very important. BEE, a star rating program. See, first of all, you should know the origin of your BEE, that is Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Here is Bureau of Energy Efficiency verified content, don't worry. This is the logo. It was created in 2002. What kind of body is this? This body was created by an act. That act is your Energy Conservation Act 2001. So Energy Conservation Act 2001 was used and Bureau of Energy Efficiency was created in 2002. This is under the Ministry of Power, okay? This is under the Ministry of Power, but it is a statutory agency. What is the purpose of this thing? Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the name says it all again. The function is to develop programs which will increase the conservation of energy and efficiency of energy in India. That will lead to reduction in carbon footprint. That will also lead to reduction of your energy bill. That will also lead to reduction of the pollution in the air. So these all things will happen. So for that, Bureau of Energy Efficiency is working. Now, this Bureau of Energy Efficiency did a very innovative thing in 2010. Ministry of Power asked it that, oh, listen my body, now those appliances, electric appliances which consume lots of energy, let us start giving them a star rating. The more is the star rating, more energy efficient the appliance will be. What will happen? The public will buy this appliance because that will lead to reduction of the electricity bill. But in that process, carbon footprint will also reduce. So that is Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and that is how your BEE star rating started in 2010. But this star rating is also classified in two types. One is voluntary, one is mandatory. Mandatory, which are required to do the star rating for sure, for example, your air conditioner and color TV. And the voluntary ones are which can do the star rating, it is fine. And this will lead to their better marketing also. They will say that, see, my appliance is saving lots of energy. So some companies will voluntarily do the star rating. That will benefit the Indian government also, the Indian population also, and your environment and ecology system also. Now it was created in 2002. So recently its 19th foundation day. It's what? Bureau of Energy Efficiencies under the Ministry of Power, created by the Act of Energy Conservation Act 2001. This body's 19th foundation day was being celebrated. They said that let's do something more, let's conserve more power, let's bring more efficiency. It was decided that BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, will expand its coverage and include 2 new devices or appliances under the star labeling program. One will be deep freezer, important for your prelims, factual only, but it can be asked. One will be deep freezer, another will be light commercial air conditioners. Through this initiative, it is being said that it will save 2.8 billion units of electricity by 2030, and that will mean that greenhouse gas reduction will be 2.4 million ton carbon dioxide, large amount. Now under the voluntary regime, by including these two are included under the voluntary regime only, not mandatory. Deep freezer and another one, light air conditioner, these are included in the voluntary regime, not mandatory. Now under the voluntary regime you have 26 appliances. You do not need to remember the voluntary ones, but you need to know the mandatory ones, because in UPSC prelims 2 years ago it was asked and LED was in option. So I will just take names, you remember that. 10 mandatory appliances for the star rating are your room air conditioner, frost free refrigerators, tubular fluorescent lamp is also included, distribution transformer, very logically big devices, those are included. Room air conditioner, whether it is cassette or whether it is floor standing, both are included. Your direct cool refrigerator, color TV is included, electric geyser is included. You can see these appliances in your house and you will remember that which is not included and which is included. But the problem is that there are some voluntary appliances also. But in the examination it will not come like which are the mandatory, which are voluntary, but the options will be from mandatory only, because they can't ask the voluntary ones. So voluntary ones sometimes will not be having the star rating. So that will lead to, UPSC says what? A general common understanding. The common person will not understand the voluntary and mandatory. They will only understand the mandatory one. Variable capacity inverter air conditioner and LED lamps. This LED lamp, color TV, air conditioner, frost free refrigerator, room air conditioner, distribution transformer, this is very important. You should remember it. So only that much for the 19th foundation day? No, something more. During the event, one thing was launched. That thing is database on energy efficiency. What kind of database? First of all, understand that it was not called database on energy efficiency. Hindi translation was used and it was said that it is Urja Dakshata information tool. Now Dakshata means efficiency, right? Efficiency. Urja Dakshata information tool, or UDIT, it was launched. It is nothing but just having a general landscape of your energy conservation programs by the government, private organization, what is the energy landscape of the country, everything is present there. Whether it is industry, appliance, building, transport or municipal and agricultural sector, everyone's data is there about the energy efficiency. This is not an independent initiative. They have taken help from World Resource Institute, and it's my request to you is that please tell me in the comment section something 2 or 3 lines about World Resource Institute, because this is very important. You will Google, you will copy paste, some people will benefit, you will benefit, I will also benefit. It will also showcase the capacity building and new initiatives taken up by the governments. So kind of government agenda propaganda also in the sectors of increasing energy efficiency domain. That's all about it. Our third and next topic and the last topic is also very equally important. National Clean Air Program. Now this news is borrowed from March month 2020. That does not mean that National Clean Air Program came in March 2020. This National Clean Air Program came in January 2019 only, 1 year or 1.5 years ago. Central launched this program with an objective. The aim and objective was that in Indian cities, 102 cities were selected. Those were generally tier 2 cities, okay? Tier 2 cities except your Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. Other cities are tier 2 cities only. Selecting tier 2 cities is a benefit. They are becoming a new hotspot of pollution, air pollution. So it is a good thing that you are able to select the tier 2 cities and your focus is not only on the metropolitan cities. Fine. These cities, the non-attainment cities, 102 cities were selected. Now the government said that in this 102 cities, we will reduce the particulate matter 10 and particulate matter 2.5 pollution by 20 to 30%. 20 to 30%, generally 30 only, minimum 20. 20 to 30% reduction of particulate matter 10 and particulate matter 2.5 by 2024. By 2024. So program came in 2019 and till 2024 you have to reduce it by 20 to 30% particulate matter. So how much is the length of the program? How long it is? 5 years. For that, a base year also will be needed. You cannot compare PM 2.5 and PM 10 to any random year, right? Base year was not 2019 or 18. Base year was 2017. Base year was 2017. And how they have selected these cities? WHO came with some data, and then based on the WHO, your Central Pollution Control Board, that also came with the data, and together it was decided that these 102 cities will be selected, and PM 2.5, PM 10 pollution level will be reduced by 20 to 30% by 2024. This is all about clean air program. Now this is in news. Your union government asked the city level organization, your municipalities or state governments, that please send us the plan how you are going to work on it, national clean air program. Please send us the plan, because here from the center we cannot deal with your city situation. You give the plan, then implement it at the local level. So somehow in these 102 cities we can implement the national clean air program. See, 102 non-attainment cities across 23 states and union territories identified by Central Pollution Control Board. But the story behind is that WHO also helped, and Central Pollution Control Board, how they decided? They saw the 2011 to 2015 4 years ambient air quality data of these 102 cities, all cities, and 102 the most severe cities were selected. To one more conceptual thing. Now is a program very ideal? No, there have been some protests, there have been some criticism. The funding allotment by the union government is only 300 crore. Now the activists are saying that for 102 cities, PM 2.5, PM 10 reduction by 20 to 30%, 300 crore will not be enough. This is a very small amount. Second thing, they are saying that you have made a timeline of 5 years. In this 5 years, already this pollution level will be very high, and many of the people will be impacted. So this midterm target of 5 years is not good. They are saying that this should have been a shorter period. This is all in this lecture. 3 most important things are done, and we will meet tomorrow and we will proceed with the 33rd lecture, I think, and that will be the environment section only, March month 2020. Thank you.